Buenos dias, Gunners Collective TV. Back at it. You already know. Like a torta with some bad habits. Bye up, bye up. Let's get to the intro. This is a good one. Welcome back to the channel. And if you haven't already hit that like and subscribe button, make sure you go ahead and do that. Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directed in the direction of the dope content that the gun stays kicking. And I appreciate the support. I'm very humbled by it, right? So let's clear up all the fakery, all the rumors, all the gibberish, right? Everything that's being thrown out there that is not true. Yesterday, I was able to get at one of Little Toro's very good friends and also a very good friend of the family. How close? Like a brother, right? And he broke it all down in layman terms for me. Hey, killed all the rumors, gave me the details. The details have emerged. I'm giving it to you guys. I tried to set up what would be an interview with him. He was a little apprehensive, a little, he showed me enough to know, and we talked on the phone, so I know that he knows exactly what's happening, and he's tapped in majorly, right? But due to his respect for the family, he kind of didn't want to show exactly who he was. I get it, right? And we're going to keep that source like that because out of respect for him, that's what I do. But there was a lot of details that emerged, and I felt it only fitting and right to let people know what's going on, so that way you guys are not following rumors and just people making shit up. So yesterday I did a video where I put question marks because it was put out there on social media from certain platforms that Little Toro's grandfather was in a coma, right? I questioned it. And just having dealt with Little Toro, I knew anything is possible. You know, when you're dealing with someone who's lost their mind and is gradually just sinking lower and lower, right? You know, anything is possible because their reality is not our reality. You know, I'm sure Little Toro didn't see things the way we seen them. You know, prior to his murder, he was more of one of those energetic individuals that could go from 0 to 100 in 100 seconds, like quick. So when I heard that his grandfather was in a coma, you know, I kind of questioned it, and I wanted to know, you know, the validity of it. Was it valid? Where'd they get this information from? Who was saying this? So, of course, man, this good family friend tapped in with me immediately upon seeing my video and other videos that I've done and has respect for me like I do him, kind of broke down exactly who he was and said no. Okay, so the word of the day is not J-O-B. You should already have that. The word of the day is no. No, Toro's grandfather is not in a coma. Yes, he was struck a few times during the altercation. I'm going to break all the details down right now. And yes, I don't know if he still is at this very moment, but as of yesterday, yes, he was still in the hospital recovering from the traumatic experience of what happened. Now, let me tell you guys without a shadow of a doubt exactly what it is. And I will say this first and foremost, there is actual camera footage, video footage. Oh shit, look, that's Little Toro trying to tell me something, right? You guys seen it yourself, right? Something happened there. Ole Toro, I'm too old for you. Look, his grandfather was involved in the mix, and there is video footage of exactly what happened. Ring camera footage. There was a ring camera set up, and according to what this person told me, upon seeing the ring camera footage, Little Toro was not assaulting anyone. In fact, on that ring camera footage, Little Toro was running around the house and somebody with a knife was on him, chasing him, right? Now, I don't know, and that person doesn't know prior if Little Toro was striking people or assaulting people, and I'm sure the detectives and everyone else is going to figure that out. But I will say this. No one's been arrested yet, okay? And this individual told me, and I'm trying to get the footage from him, that he actually pulled up, him and a friend, pulled up to Little Toro's grandfather's house 2 days or yesterday or the day before, I believe it was, and seeing who is the suspect, the alleged suspect, which is the uncle of Little Toro, pulling weeds in the front of the house. And they pulled out their camera recording they asked him, hey, what happened? What'd you do? He had several bandages on his hands. You could tell he was in some sort of altercation. He got a little defensive, said, I was not going to let that guy hurt my family. And it just is what it is. And then refused to answer any more questions. I'm going to be trying to get that video for you guys to show you. Again, man, it's kind of totally up to the family, right? Whether they want to release that or not. But that is what happened. Now, this is what the whole incident stemmed from. Yes, little Toro was misappropriating funds. He was allegedly using his grandfather's debit card and credit cards and spending them without his grandfather knowing, or maybe his grandfather knew, but he was overspending, right? Now, with that being said, in that household, there's a number of people that live there. So it was little Toro's grandfather, okay? It was 3 women, one of them being sort of a caretaker or the other half to the grandfather. And then it was an uncle, which was, of course, Toro's mother's brother who lived there at his dad's pad. So it was 3 women, Toro, his uncle, who's the alleged suspect who killed Toro, and his grandfather. And somewhere early, prior to Toro being killed, from I'd say midnight to what I was told, midnight to 7 in the morning, there was some allegations going on. They got in an argument, the grandfather and Toro, and words were being exchanged over, the stealing of money, and the uncle got involved, and allegedly Toro just catted out on him, and they went back and forth, and the uncle felt it necessary, right, to defend his family, his father, the women in the household. Now, I asked about the women, like what was going on? Were they present? And he says he had no knowledge if they were present exactly when that went down. But according to the ring camera footage, you see Toro running around and being chased. Now, I want to give respect to Toro's family, his mother, his father, you know what I'm saying? All these people, they deserve respect. They deserve in their time to release whatever details they want as far as footage and all that. The footage I'm trying to get is not the ring camera footage. That's their personal, that's that family's personal footage. But the one that the homie said he recorded, pulling up and doing that, that's possibly going to be in my possession pretty soon. If not, it's good. I can only speak on what he said. Now, here's another thing about Toro. A lot of people have always judged little Toro based upon the allegations of being an SO, right? Doing them acts, the SAs, right? And I'm not going to lie. When that was brought up, that's what made me push away from Toro. Okay, and I'm not trying to disrespect the integrity of his honor now that he's passed. I'm not trying to do that. As you can see, I'm not trying to be funny. I'm being real. I always questioned the validity of that, and it wasn't until Joshua Mason, man, rest in peace to Josh Rascal, produced paperwork and kind of went deep into, little Toro's whole get down. And that was when the revelation was pretty much put out there for a fact. There was always skepticism on my part because I wasn't sure if it was true or not. But I got a story to tell you. This is not in defense of little Toro. This is not saying that what he did or what allegations he had against him. This is not to disprove that. Whatever he did, he admitted to doing. So we know that now, right? But, from what I'm hearing, and this is someone who got at me as a childhood friend of Toro from the same neighborhood, Brown Street locals out of Vacaville, was with Toro 2-3 days prior to him being murdered, was interviewed by Toro, was in several music videos with Toro, just his boy, right? In fact, he told me a funny story. Before we get into what I'm going to say, he told me a story that just the other day, and he's like, man, I'm happy that I got to spend a little time with him before he passed. And he said that, they were in Frisco doing a music shoot video or whatever, and chilling and riding around and doing their thing. So he got to spend a little bit of time with them before he passed, because you never know. And another thing was that he said, man, he goes, we were good, bro. And then Toro calls him. Now, this man has children. He's a family man. He's just doing his thing. He's not in the mix anymore, gang related or nothing. He was a fool, man. I've read several articles about how he was a knucklehead when he was a youngster, and he was with the program in the business, right? And he made sure he shot me everything, pictures of his family and everything, just so I knew who I was talking to, and we chopped it up, and it was all good. He was a cool youngster, right? But I'll say this: he said that Toro called him the other day, probably about a week or 2 weeks ago, or it was about a week ago, right? Called him and was like, "Hey, blood," you know how Toro was. "Hey, blood, I got $20. Come swoop me up. Let's go to San Ho. I'm gonna do a music video with this guy and that guy." And he was like, "Bro, no can do. I got my kids. I'm chilling, right?" "Oh, come on, blood." You know how fucking Toro. And started catting out a little bit. And the homie was like, "I can't do it." Immediately, Toro made a video on social media talking about all these dudes from Vacaville, from my hood. They're all in cahoots. They're trying to get me. And he said, "Man, I just couldn't take him to San Jose to go cruise around for $20 of gas, right? It just wasn't my thing." I get it. It's a funny story, but to Toro, he took that serious. He took that like the homie was turning his back on him. Like, and in his mind, he thought, okay, if you're not with me, you're against me. And if you're against me, I'm willing to go all out. That's just his mindset, you know? That was the decline in his mind. Even people that were with him from day one and would have definitely opened their doors to him and have his back. If you told him no, then it was immediately, okay, you're against me. You're the enemy. You're the op. And he took to social media. I think social media was a big outlet for Toro at the end, man. It was a way for him it was some form of expression to express himself without having to come to these, right? And in some cases, man, he did come to these, even on camera, you know, and ultimately he lost his life behind his mouth, right? He lost his life behind his ways, you know, and he could he have been salvaged and saved? Obviously, man. One never knows, does one, but he was never given that opportunity because he never took that opportunity. So let's talk about these allegations that everyone always wants to speak on Little Toro about. I'm not going to lie. I've made videos in the past giving him, ribbing him, right? Jabbing, because he's made videos in the past on me. So we jab back and forth. And that, of course, is always going to be, I mean, his argument with me, you're a dropout, you're a dropout. I was like, bro, you are too, right? You're not as active as you think you are. A Mongolian doesn't do nothing for you. But I never hated that man, like with pure hatred or hate in my heart. I always wanted to see him do better. Even when I found out, like, hey, he's one of them things, like he's got some bad case, I was like, man, I don't agree with none of that. I never will, but I understand. And now that I got some background on it and that I'm going to share with you guys, trip out. So we all know, man, and I don't want to keep knocking the dead horse down, right, and keep bringing shit up, but I just want to clear up some of the skepticism from people. Yes, he was self-admitted. He did some bad shit, right? According to him, you know, all the homies around that were there at that party that night were doing it. He was unaware of the age of the female. And I get it, man. I get it. You know, there's a lot of trickery, dickery, doxy. It's okay. It's all good for SPM, but it's not good for Little Toro. Look, I'm going to say this, right? Any position in life that you're in, you put yourself in. Could have left the party. You know what I'm saying? I've never believed in a whole bunch of homeboys with one chick taking advantage. Like, it does age, no matter the age, right? Just a woman, period. You know, but it is what it is. You know, shit happens and you got to make your bed and lay in it and live with that. Now, the dude didn't fight the feeling on that. He admitted it after a lot of pushing and prodding. And finally he said, yeah, you know, I was involved, but it wasn't just me. His whole thing was, it wasn't just me. Why am I the only one being hated on for this shit? Right? I get it. It wasn't just him. But everyone thinks that Little Toro fell off and started to cat out and go crazy because he was basically pushed away from the Northern movement. And a lot of people are speculating, or have always been speculating, the reason he was pushed out of the music, but ultimately ruined his career, because he was popping in the 2000s. He's a great rapper, right? He was a great rapper. And they believe that when he got pushed out the way for the allegations, that's when he went crazy. That's when he lost his mind, because when it's something you grow up with and the only thing you know, what do you expect, right? But let me tell you guys this. This is coming from his homeboy from his hood that was actually there during all of this, right? Says that. He goes, nah, bro, let me tell you. He says, yeah, we know about that shit. He said, but we've been knowing about that. When he was popping in the 2000s and making all these rap videos, everyone already knew. Everybody already knew of what he did at that party that night with them other guys. Like, everybody knew. Wait up, man. My phone's ringing and shit, right? Wait up, man. Let me see. People are trying to get a hold of me right now. It could have been any number of things, right? For people to say that he did what he did. But the fact of the matter, the truth of the matter is this, man. Let me take this call. I'll be right back. Can't keep the tortas off me, right? It just is what it is. You know what I'm saying? That's live and direct, live call, man, with the torta. Look, the homie told me this. He said everybody knew about Toro, okay? And no one gave a shit. He was popping, the music was pumping. What had happened with Toro was he has family from Frisco, and everyone in this situation got caught up. I'm not going to say no names or whatever, but they got caught up behind this. But he has family and in Frisco. And I guess there was someone out of Vacaville that was moving major weight, doing his thing. And Toro decided that for whatever reason, he was a solid homie, this guy, right? Like a big, like someone big in the mix in the game. And he was pushing peas and doing his thing. And Toro and his family decided for whatever reason, like, hey, let's pull that lick. Let's get him, right? And the lick went down, whatever, 15, 20 big packs up out of there. And I'm not trying, I'm trying to toe the line here. And at that moment, when the homies figured out Toro was involved, that's the reason he got pushed out the way. That's the reason he was no longer in good standings. That is the reason why everybody turned their back on him and told him to kick fucking rocks, right? It had nothing to do with them charges. Motherfuckers knew about those, right? Now, I didn't. Of course, you didn't. There's a lot of people that didn't because we weren't from his neighborhood. We weren't there. And I'm not going to say every single person did, but those in his circle and those around him already knew, didn't care. And that shows you individualism and homeboy favoritism and all that. And that's kind of why now looking back in hindsight at certain situations I was involved in life when it came to the gang reality of things, I'd see one homeboy get treated one way and one homeboy get treated another. And when that stems all the way back to the youth authority, man, I remember being in YA with the homeboy Bad Boy from Sacra, Barrio Franklin Boulevard, right? Good homie of mine, man. His life in prison now is a little different. But back then, that was one of my taitas. We was in that motherfucker running, Raggedy Annie motherfuckers, running ragged in YA, just it's whatever. And there was a certain thing called getting dropped leva, and if you got dropped leva, man, pobrecito was all bad. And you were kind of ostracized, outcasted, and got everything took and got beat up several times throughout the day, right? And it was every day. It's crazy. How you get there, sometimes you get there by your inability to perform the way you're supposed to for your cause. And unfortunately, just like anything else in life, you can get there by people just taking advantage of the situation or the power or control that they got, right? And I remember my boy Bads was one of them guys. If he just didn't like you just the way you looked, or you had some nice shoes that he wanted, you ended up on the short end of the stick, man. You was getting dropped lev on. And I participated a couple times in that. And I think back to them times and I'm like, man, what kind of fucking idiot was I? What kind of monster was I to do that to these people that didn't do nothing wrong, but we wanted their shoes, or we wanted the, we didn't like the tattoos they had or whatever. In any case, right, that was, I'd see a homeboy fuck up, actually not jump up in a riot, but because he was a good homeboy from Sanjo or from San Fran or whatever, he had the right tattoos in the right places, and his homeboy was this homeboy, like he got a pass. But then this homeboy who was like Bolo from like Windsor or a smaller city that no one knew, he fucked up, boom, he's getting smashed. Period. Level, all the shit took, all that. So there was a lot of that going on. So it's kind of, I say that to say this, it's kind of the same thing with the Little Toro situation, because he was popping, making money, music, everyone was feeling him. And at that time in Little Toro's mind, the type of person he is and was, right, is that, that's, imagine, what I'm saying, when you're popping, you're doing your thing, you're having the time of your life, and then all that's snatched away from you. Now, ultimately, he made the decision to do some backdoor shit with his own homies. He should have never done that. So yes, getting kicked about, told to kick rocks and getting kicked about the mix, obviously that's going to happen because you don't backdoor your own homeboys and steal and rob and shit. But at the same time, the story was put out there. Then everyone was like, oh, the reason why he got pushed up out of here was because he's an SA. He did SA shit, right? And that's not the case. Now, I'm not justifying it. It is what it is. But I just wanted, the homie told me, man, that's the story he wanted to tell, right? So that everyone knows. It was more cutthroat than that. It was more hood politics and more northern politics than just him having some allegations like that, right? That's a fact. So I'll tell you this, the uncle, definitely the suspect in the case. There is video footage, like I said, ring camera footage. I'm sure everything's been forwarded to the detectives. They're doing their due diligence. He has not been arrested yet, as far as I know, and was pretty much with the stance that Little Toro posed a threat to him and to his family. Now, as far as him bombing on his grandfather, I asked the homie straight up, hey, bro, did he hit his grandfather like that? No, what happened was during this altercation when him and the uncle were fighting, the grandfather and someone else tried to, break them apart, split them apart. And in doing so, the grandfather got hit. He said little Toro would have never hit his grandfather, would have never hit his child. He loved them to the fullest. And that's just it. So I wanted to dispel all the rumors, man, and say that, you know, whoever's saying that, you got your facts twisted. My respects and ultimate respects go out to the family that are in anguish, that are going through what they're going through right now. The homie told me straight up, he was like, hey, bro, little Toro's ex-wife is really having issues with this. It's kind of hard on her kids and her, and that she was actually on her way to his house to go spend some time right there because they're very good family friends. So that's just facts and truth, man. I'm tapped in, and I just wanted to kind of clear some shit up with that. There will be no more disrespect on my part towards Toro, man. Whatever he did in his life, he did in his life. And, you know, I want to remember the music, and I want to remember the smile, and I want to remember shit like that. Everything after that, man, is gone now. You know what I'm saying? You can't hate him forever. Just, you know, it is what it is. Anyways, have a happy Friday, man. A good Friday. I know I've been slacking on the supers, man. It's Christmas time. I got to wrap presents. I'm a single father, man. I got to buy presents, wrap presents, go to buy wrapping paper, do all these different things that a single man has to do when you have children and kids, right? But I'm going to be dropping some supers today. So make sure you guys tap in with the collective clips because you guys already know how I do it. Bang, bang. Just wanted to clear up all these things. This video is sponsored by Vario Liquors, man, out there in Turlock, California. If you're in the Central Valley, go get you something cold and icy to drink. And tell my boy Lali I said, you will say.